My time in Poland. That's what I want to talk about today, basically, because I've been asked questions about the time I spent in Eastern Europe, and what do I think of it, and how did it go, and what got me there in the first place. So I thought I'd have this little video on that episode in my life. Well, this was in the late 90s. I'd just finished up my enjoyable time spent in South Africa, and I was looking at opportunities in the Middle East, in the Gulf region. So I was back in the UK, but while I was looking, the opportunity, and I can't remember how the opportunity came up, but I was approached by the CEO of the group in the UK, Johan Fisser, to come and see him regarding a position in Poland, which was a business, well, to set up a new business. They weren't in Poland at this stage. They wanted to set up a business. Now, it wasn't Poundstretcher who wanted to set this up, it was Petcor, who were the South African holding company, who have many brands in South Africa, Australia and other parts of the world, including a number of companies in the UK. The holding company in the UK was Brown & Jackson, and under Brown & Jackson, the most recent acquisition that then was Poundstretcher, who were based in Leeds at that particular point in time. They also had a discount group up in Scotland called Your More Stores, and another company in home discounts called What Everyone Wants, and they also had a sports footwear company in Newcastle called Brunswick, and I think they had something else, but I can't remember all the details. Anyway, I was employed, well, not so much by Poundstretcher, I was employed by Brown & Jackson, specifically to kickstart the business in Poland, which was going to be called Poundstretcher. I recall going up to Leeds to meet Johan Fisser for the first time to discuss this opportunity. He was based in Scotland, but he came down to Leeds and I went up to Leeds. And Johan had been brought out of retirement by Christo Wiese, the CEO of the Petcor Group, to manage the UK group. I'm trying to think. He obviously did some research, got my name, tracked me down, and I went up to see him. Now it turns out he'd already recruited somebody to manage the whole of this new Poland project. A gentleman called Paul Glossop, who'd lived in Poland for quite a while, managed a large business there under Jeronimo Martin, the Portuguese group, but he was involved in the wholesale cash and carry business. In fact, he went over there with Booker, who were in a joint agreement with Jeronimo Martin before I think Jeronimo Martin took it over. And Jeronimo Martin were also in other retail businesses in Poland as well, other brands like Biedronka, which is a discount food chain. So he had been originally selected to join the group, but right at the last minute Paul Glossop pulled out, and I can't remember his reasons, but he said he would spend a couple of weeks with the new incumbent that comes in and introduce him to the market. So I was contacted. I don't know who else was contacted potentially for the job, but I was contacted, went up for that initial meeting. Quite like Johan, despite the reputation he had as being a bit bombastic, and took the job on. Now, at this particular point in time, Poland were not in the EU, or they'd not gained entry to the EU. That would come several years later. So Poland was very different then to what it is now. I'll just to lay that down as well. But anyway, in this first meeting, I then got introduced to Paul Glossop, and we arranged a trip to go out to Poland for a few weeks straight away, just to do a bit of orientation for myself. But in that first meeting, I said to Johan, have we done research on the name Pound? Because I said, what's the business going to be called in Poland? And he said, Pound Stretcher. He said it'll be an extension of the UK business. So I said, is that wise? Is Pound Stretcher going to be a name that's going to work for the Polish consumer? And he looked at me rather harshly and said, it was like a warning, don't give me any more questions like that, please. Now, I thought Johan's reaction to that question was most odd. In fact, he was quite aggressive and scowled as he said it, you know, as if to say, don't make any more statements like that. And I just thought it was a legitimate point to raise. You know, is Pound Stretcher as a name, is it meaningful in Poland? But he was adamant, and then he made the point. He then went on to deliver that it's an extension of the UK. The buyers in the UK will be buying the stock for the Polish market and distributing it from the warehouse facility in Leeds. And I thought, okay, fine, and didn't say any more. Now, bear in mind, there's nothing in Poland at this stage. There's no infrastructure, there's nothing. What we're doing now, we're going out for a recce. Unbeknown to me at the time, Pepkor in South Africa had attempted to break into Poland some years earlier and failed. Firstly, they had difficulty with visas getting South Africans into Poland at the time, and then when they did get people, the selection was very poor, and they lost the plot and didn't get anywhere, quite honestly. Johan himself had been out to Poland once, met a couple of business owners, people who were trying to sell their businesses, and it was one of the first things he handed me, a couple of books, portfolios on companies he wanted me to go and visit who had businesses to sell, which we may be able to convert into Pound Stretchers. So he wanted me to look at those when I went out to Poland as a first step, and also get some sort of platform in place, get the legalities in place, get the key people in place, get a central point head office set up, and then get a few stores open so we could start trading and start making things happen. Now, I joined them in August, and he wanted to have everything in place and have a few stores open by the end of the year so that we could pick up on Christmas trade. That's how he was thinking. Now, my initial thinking was, well, he obviously has done a lot of pre-prep. There's things in place already, so I'll establish that we can go ahead and do this, no problem. And that's where I was. This rain, just like Polish rain. Ugh. So 2 weeks after joining Brown and Jackson, I'm on the ground in Poland, going through the whole country, doing an orientation with Paul Glossop. So, kicked off in Warsaw, then drove to Poznan. Well, went to Łódź and Katowice, Krakow, everywhere. Covered Poland in a few weeks, at a pace, obviously, and walked and talked through how things happen in Poland from a retail point of view, who the retail players are, and also the good thing about having Paul Glossoff on board, who'd worked there for many years, is he could introduce me to some people who I could look at bringing into the business to manage the business from an operational point of view, HR point of view, store development point of view, etc. And having seen the type of retail standards, which weren't bad, behind the UK obviously, but weren't bad, I recruited a number of people, Marcin Borok and Janusz Ratacek and Radek, a few people, and we established where we were going to set up base. I also engaged with Arthur Anderson, the International Consulting Group, who I felt had to be brought on board for a period of time to ensure we meet all legal requirements in trading in Poland. Something again that Johan and I and Henny Rulofsson, who was the group accountant, got into clashes about because of the cost. But you know, end of the day, if you're going to be legal, you've got to have the right people involved to ensure you are in setting it up. And the time frame they wanted to get it done in, it was the only route forward. So I won the argument in that particular area, but it was a tough discussion. After completing the recce in Poland, the first recce, I flew back to the UK, said cheers to Paul Glossoff, who had to set up or go to his new business, and proceeded with my first initial thoughts to Johan. So I flew up to Scotland to see him, and this is where I could sense this isn't going to be an easy journey. What I said to Johan was, look, now that I've spoken to people in Poland on the ground and got their thoughts, first of all, on the pound stretcher name, it's meaningless. It has no meaning whatsoever. The currency in Poland is the zloty, and stretching does not mean the same in Polish as it does in the UK. You don't stretch your zloty. I mean, it's not a word even in the UK used these days much, but stretching your budget further. But nevertheless, in Poland it is something not even used at all. And I said the name, based on hearing it from people there, some of which I was about to employ there as well, is not going to work. The second, and he just said he's not discussing it with me. It's not for debate. Fine, I just made the point. Second issue I was on buying merchandise, product selection. Having been into the stores out there, looked at product, looked at prices, they're not just slightly apart, they're miles apart in terms of price. How are buyers in the UK going to be able to meet the requirements of consumers in Poland? Now his words were, well, you're effing going to show them and tell them. That was it. So it was that sort of meeting. And through getting to know Johan more, I realised he hadn't gone into the detail on Poland at all. And I could sense he was also under pressure that this business had to be open by Christmas. So we're sort of a few months away. So it was a process of doing it or nothing else at the time. I looked at it and thought, well, okay, there's good people out there. There is a gap in the market for another retail discounter, and I thought there's also a good opportunity to marry, let's forget about, okay, Pound Stretcher, or whatever the name would be in the future, because at that stage I still felt the name was going to have to change. And marrying it or positioning it alongside a food discounter like Biedronka, who was pulling in the same clientele, customer base that we're focusing on for Pound Stretcher. So that was my strategic thinking, and I went through that, gave my logic, reasons why. So when I was looking at stores, I was looking, where was there a Biedronka where we could position a Pound Stretcher to draw and enhance the offer together. In fact, I even went to Geronimo Martin, spoke to them, and had a discussion about working in an alliance on that basis, which all was amicable and was good. The businesses I went to see in Warsaw that Johan had given to me as potentials to purchase, well, were totally unsuitable. They were small shops, over-the-counter service, and plus they were asking too much money for them, in my opinion, as well. So the whole thing, I walked away from those. I said it was a no-go, and continued to pursue standalone sites. And through the team that I selected over there, we identified, and with Arthur Anderson's help, we identified a number of locations in Poznan, in Bydgoszcz, and that whole region, and we had selected and done the transactions for opening these stores physically by the end of the year and beginning of the next year. We're going to open the first one by Christmas in Poznan, and then the second one was going to open in Bydgoszcz. Well, there were a couple that we were opening in Bydgoszcz. This process was frustrating, because I felt at this stage the support required from Pound Stretcher in Leeds was just not capable. Nothing wrong with the guys in Pound Stretcher, but they were used to Pound Stretcher UK market. But the likes of the Johan Fissers were just, well, they'd gone crazy. They had no understanding of the market at all, and were just trying to bulldoze the position to make something happen in Poland. We did some store openings. I brought the team back to the UK from Poland, to the Pound Stretchers in the UK, to show them the stores and do a couple of store openings, which they did. And then I had a session with Johan and these guys in a meeting in Leeds, and they also raised the concerns about Pound Stretcher, the name, the range, buying is required in Poland, and so on. And he erupted, and I was out of this conversation, by the way, but obviously I was the cause. So he had me then at the end of the meeting in a separate meeting, and we had words, and the relationship was steadily going one way. I didn't let that hinder what I was doing in Poland, and I carried on what I felt was right overall for the business. And I started looking for Polish buyers as well, because the process for buying in Poland was definitely going to be required. I then had a visit with Johan, which went pretty well. The logic over there was it was new to him, so he had to listen. And I had Rulosa come over as well, who wanted to appoint an accountant from the UK based in Poland. I didn't have a problem with that, but this person did battle. It was a lady, and she was clearly battling with everything. She could speak Polish. That was her strength, but she was not very strong when it came to financial management and required a lot of support. After several more months working on the team, opening a couple more stores, we're into the early part of the next year, so I've been there about 9 months now. Meetings with Johan just got more strained. It was not working. It was not working because he was forcing it down the wrong road, and I had to keep on telling him that. And in the end, it got to a point where something came along in the Middle East for me that I'd applied for before I joined the Pound Stretcher group, and I felt, for me, it's the route I had to go. The logic was it wasn't going to work the way they were taking the business, and until they changed, and I believe they would change eventually because they would see the light, but until they did, it was going to be a problem. Now, what I'm delighted to tell you now is the business did change. I would guess it was started changing its thinking about 6 months after I left. They made plans and the name was changed to Petco. Buyers were given support to buy locally in the Polish market and abroad. Store development was allowed to flourish, and today Poland has something like over 1,000 branches across Poland, plus several hundred in other parts of that part of Europe, including Slovakia and a few other countries. So they've got in excess of well over 1,000 stores stretching across that part of the world and growing. In fact, they are far larger than Pound Stretcher in the UK now. They no longer have any link with Pound Stretcher UK because South Africa pulled out of the UK when they started screwing up the business in the UK. And the business in Poland has been able to flourish, reporting into the Petco group, but flourishing as a standalone business with no interference from outside, due to the people that are in that business and how it works. So I'm pleased that it's found its focus and got it right. And I'm also, I'm pleased because it was a painful year I had in that business, trying to take the then CEO down that road. It didn't do me any good with them, with Petco, because I was the black sheep in the family. Here's a little video on the Petco business today in Poland.
Witamy w Pepco.
Pepco is the largest retail chain in the CEE outside of the FMCG sector.
W Pepco wierzymy, że każdy zasługuje na to, by móc kupować modne ubrania oraz artykuły wyposażenia domu. Dlatego dbamy o naszych klientów.
Oferując szeroki asortyment odzieży dla dzieci i dorosłych.
Zabawki, artykuły papiernicze oraz produkty wyposażenia domu.
A to wszystko w najniższych cenach.
Jesteśmy zawsze blisko, w dużych i małych miastach.
We are already present in 6 countries in Europe.
Dla milionów klientów więcej za mniej każdego dnia.
To dzięki ludziom osiągamy wielkie sukcesy.
Jesteśmy zgranym międzynarodowym zespołem.
Nasze produkty trafiają do setek sklepów w Europie.
Pepco nieustannie powiększa skalę działania.
Znamy naszych klientów i wybieramy dla nich to, co najlepsze.
Bo Pepco to miejsce udanych zakupów.
Pepco's ambition is to become the biggest, the best and the cheapest discount clothing and housewares retailer in Europe.
Firma działa w Polsce od 1999 roku. Pierwszy sklep w ramach sieci Pepco został otwarty w roku 2004. Od tego czasu firma przeżywa bardzo dynamiczny rozwój. Otwiera nowe sklepy w Polsce i za granicą i rośnie w siłę na rynku europejskim. Po kilkunastu latach działania sieć Pepco jest już obecna w 6 krajach. W Polsce, w Czechach, w Słowacji, Rumunii, na Węgrzech i w Chorwacji, a łączna liczba sklepów przekracza już 1000 i stale rośnie. Każdego miesiąca Pepco otwiera kilkanaście nowych sklepów, docierając ze swoją ofertą do kolejnych grup klientów. Samoobsługowe sklepy zlokalizowane w centrach miast i miasteczek oraz w centrach handlowych, często sąsiadujące z operatorami spożywczymi, tworzą kompleksową ofertę handlową. Komfort zakupów zapewniają klientom takie rozwiązania jak niewielka w porównaniu do hipermarketów powierzchnia, optymalna organizacja wnętrza sklepu, standardy ekspozycji oraz pomocny personel zapewniający klientom łatwą i szybką orientację w sklepie.
Zapewniamy naszym klientom najłatwiejszy dostęp do wszystkich produktów, które na co dzień potrzebują i pragną, aby ubrać swoją rodzinę, tworzyć i dekorować swój dom, a to wszystko w najniższych cenach w Europie.
Asortyment sklepów Pepco to około 4000 produktów, głównie z kategorii odzież dziecięca, damska i męska, bielizna, zabawki i artykuły papiernicze, produkty wyposażenia mieszkania, artykuły dekoracyjne i tekstylia domowe. Właściwy dobór asortymentu oraz niskie ceny osiągane dzięki twardym negocjacjom kupców są kluczem do sukcesu Pepco i powodem, dla którego co roku sklepy Pepco w całej Europie odwiedzają miesięcznie miliony klientów.
Potrzebują dużo rzeczy dla dziecka. Ubranka i różne zabawki. To wszystko gdzie indziej dużo kosztuje, a w Pepco wiem, że nie przepłacam. I kupię wszystko w dobrej cenie. I sobie też przy okazji coś kupię.
Lubię zakupy w Pepco, bo mają tu fajne, ciekawe i niedrogie rzeczy. Zawsze jest bardzo szeroki wybór, a ceny są takie, że możemy sobie na te rzeczy pozwolić.
Dlaczego kupuję w Pepco? Dlatego, że te wszystkie produkty tutaj naprawdę są dobre i tanie. Zawsze znajdę tu coś, co akurat przyda mi się w domu, albo po prostu będzie w domu ładnie wyglądać.
Syn potrzebuje kurtkę na zimę, żona coś fajnego upatrzyła.
Szukam fajnego i niedrogiego prezentu dla koleżanki. Wiedziałam, że w Pepco znajdę coś ładnego. Tutaj jest bardzo dużo ciekawych artykułów do wystroju domu.
Potrzeby kupujących ciągle się zmieniają. Pepco bardzo dobrze rozpoznaje te potrzeby i stale dostosowuje do nich swoją ofertę.
W Pepco wierzymy, że każda kobieta zasługuje na to, by kupować modne ubrania dla swojej rodziny i dla siebie oraz praktyczne i atrakcyjne artykuły wyposażenia domu. Dbamy o to, aby cena nigdy nie była dla niej przeszkodą.
Strategia komunikacji marketingowej Pepco zakłada regularne publikacje gazetek promocyjnych i emisje kampanii reklamowych w telewizji i w internecie oraz bieżący kontakt z naszym klientem w mediach społecznościowych. Pepco zatrudnia w ramach całej sieci 9000 pracowników. Nad dynamicznym rozwojem całej firmy czuwa zespół pracowników centrali zlokalizowanej w Polsce, w Poznaniu. To tutaj podejmuje się decyzje w obszarach inwestycji, zakupów, marketingu, merchandisingu czy finansów. Transport artykułów do sklepów Pepco w całej Europie organizowany jest przez 300-osobowy zespół pracowników centralnego magazynu Pepco zlokalizowanego w Rawie Mazowieckiej. Największą grupę pracowników stanowią sprzedawcy i kierownicy sklepów. To oni każdego dnia dbają o to, aby klienci Pepco mieli dobrą obsługę i wsparcie w codziennych zakupach. Siłą Pepco jest wspólne dążenie do osiągania sukcesów i kultura organizacyjna. U podstaw PEP-kultury leży współpraca, szacunek, entuzjazm i radość z pracy, uczciwość oraz ciągłe doskonalenie swoich umiejętności. Pomimo coraz większej skali działania, udaje się zachować w firmie rodzinną atmosferę i osiągać tyle sukcesów.
Pepco to sukces. Sukces osiągnięty dzięki ciężkiej pracy naszych pracowników, dostawców oraz partnerów biznesowych. To właśnie dzięki nim klienci lubią i chcą kupować w Pepco.
Pepco. Więcej za mniej. Codziennie.
Okay, nearly finished my walk. Talk to you again soon. Bye bye.